Hey everybody, TGIF. It's September 18th, 2020. Hey, you guys know I've been doing promotional videos for my book here, 11 to 7. Now available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. Available now. I know you can go in there and purchase it. It's been rocking and rolling since it was available. So I wanted to do a video today, though, to tell the story behind 11 to 7. My story of God's grace, like where the title came from and how it came to be. I mean, obviously it's a story about my life, so I'm not going to tell anything about that. But I realized, keeping the book short, I really never unraveled the mystery of why 11 to 7. Some people would ask me, and that's so I'm going to explain it today. Here's the story. So grab some popcorn and let's sit down. I don't think it'll be too long, but so back in 2007, I had a tattoo shop, and young kid came to me and asked for a job. And at that time, I didn't need anybody, and I was like, man, we barely have enough money to feed ourselves, let alone hire somebody. And he said, well, can I at least sweep up for a couple bucks? I'm living in a dumpster right now, and I'm a little down on my luck. So long story short, the story's in the book. But he was living in a dumpster. And so we brought him in, let him sleep at the tattoo shop. He was already an artist. He was a graffiti artist, but we started to teach him how to tattoo. And all was right in our world, supposedly. But then in November 1st, 2007, my wife left me, and it was just him and I. And on 11 to 7, November 2nd, 2007, this kid, DJ, took his life at my tattoo shop with my 357. And after my wife left the day before, one of her best friends called and came over to console me. And then we ended up dating, and I was living there for a little while. It was pretty crazy. But at DJ's funeral, before the funeral started, we were standing there with his dad and the family, and his aunt and uncle came over, and they addressed my new girlfriend as my wife's name. And I was like, no, this is her friend. And they were like, well, where is she? I was like, oh, I don't know. But she left me the day before Dave shot himself. And they were like, what? And they said his aunt, who they own a publishing company, said, you should write a book. And I kind of like, I should. I said, man, my life's been crazy. And I remember having the paper in my hand there from the funeral, whatever you call it, the obituary thing. And I saw his death date, and it said 11 to 7. And I thought right away, I was like, man, if I ever did write a book, I would write it, 11 to 7, like the date of his death. And not to mention, like, a lot of these stories take place in between the hours of 11 at night and 7 in the morning. A lot of mayhem and mischief happens during those hours. And I was like, man, that would be an awesome title. So fast forward, I'm up in Emporium, and sitting there hanging out at the Outreach with one of my buddies, and his name's Dan also, and we were talking about writing, and I shared some of my stories, he was sharing some of his stories, and he said, are you writing these things down? And I said, no, why? And he said, oh, so you're selfish. And I said, selfish? And he said, yeah. He said, a good friend of mine, a mentor of mine, told me one time that I should be journaling. And he said, the reason being is because if you were to die, or when you die, if you don't write these stories down of what you've been through and what God's brought you through, those stories die with you. So you need to document those things. And it hit me. I mean, it hit me and boom, like a rock. I was like, man, you're right. And I said, do you journal? How long have you been journaling or something? He goes, well, I haven't started yet. I was like, what? So you're selfish. And we laughed, But that got me journaling. and writing about my life as I would relive these thoughts, in my mind. I shared my testimony a lot. I shared different stories up in Emporium. A lot of these stories from this book, 11 to 7, are from Emporium. And, sharing them, and as I'd share them, I'd go home and write them up, on notebooks. I had a bunch of different notebooks scattered, but kept in one place. There were stories scattered throughout notebooks and that. And fast forward another couple years. This is just a couple years ago. I'm in Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, doing a module for College of Prayer International, and it was our Aliquippa campus. And I'm working the registration table, and a girl comes up, and she was visibly, emotionally moved of being there and stuff. So she really stuck out. It wasn't that, like, oh, she was a mess. I'm just saying that she stuck out of everybody that came there. And, I talked to her. I think I asked her, hey, is there anything I could pray for or whatever? And everything got cool. She was in. We were doing our module started taking place, and there was a prophetic time of prophetic asking the Lord to speak to us. And my buddy Jim spoke a word over this girl. Her name's Sierra, and he said to her, he said, your next book is on a nightstand, something like that. I'm not going to put quotation marks on it. It could have been a little bit different, but when he said that, immediately the Lord brought to mind all those notebooks above my head of the stories I had of my life. And I was like, and guess where they were? They were on my nightstand. And it was crazy. I was like, and under the nightstand, I mean, they were all over the place, but literally there was one by a nightstand, whatever I would call my nightstand. I didn't have like an old man's nightstand, but I tend to hoard junk. I have quite the collection of one now. But anyhow, and immediately the Lord said, you need to go speak to her. So after that session was over, I went and talked to her, found out that she was a writer, and she had a few books that she had already published and had out. And I had asked her if she'd be interested in the story. Well, I spoke earlier that day, or maybe that night or whatever, and gave some of my story. And she came to me and said, man, I would definitely be interested in writing your story. So I sent her hours of recorded tape, digital, on my phone about my life. And then she went and wrote it. And she was under spiritual attack while she was writing it. There was a lot of craziness going on. And I remember I was excited. She sent me the copy, and I read that copy, and there was a check in my spirit. There was just like no peace about it. I didn't know what to say or what to do with her, because I'm like, well, there's just no peace, and I'll pray about it, So I messaged her, and I think what was going on there was the Lord wanted it to come from me, like wanted me to process and write this myself so that he could give me another summer school lesson in how much grace he has put on my life. And so her and I, came to terms with what was going on. She was more than gracious. Sierra was absolutely and still is amazing and still supports us. She's very positive and encouraging. So I said, all right, Lord, whatever, you're going to have to make the time. And he did. One day, it wasn't much longer after that, I sat down and just started, as my head was unraveling, just started writing. It's not, I say this in the back, actually I'll read the part where it came from here. It's the very second sentence. It says, this book has been 50 years in the making. It certainly isn't a literary masterpiece. Like, I'm a better speaker than I am writer. And the publisher of the book wanted to keep the author's voice. So if you've ever heard me speak or had conversation with me, you'll hear it in my person. It's not, the best English words. They edited it many times, believe me, to make it so it didn't make people throw the book in the air, like, what is going on? But so it's written as a book, but it's not, how knoweth Brown coweth, period. Like, it is Dan. It's me. In short form, 66 pages of the highlights of my bad part of my life and the beginning, my encounter with Christ and the beginning of the ministry. It's a skinny book, but it's heavy duty. Like, I get raw with it. And anyhow, so I wrote that and kept thinking, man, I sent copies of what I wrote to my one friend John and my friend Leanne, and they're English people, and they had a ton of stuff that needed fixed and where I could add, and I was grateful. I was like, wow. I was like, man, I'm not any further ahead than I was before with this book. And I just don't have it in me. Like, I can't think like they think, and I don't even know what's going on. And then one day I opened one of my emails, and it was from a company, Christian Faith Publishing. And whether it was an advertisement email that they made look like it was to me, or whether it was, whatever it was God sending it. And it said, submit your transcript here to see if, it's a publishable book. So I emailed them back. They gave me a call. I told them what the story was about. They said they would be interested. I sent them what I had, and they sent me a letter contract back, and here it is. Long story short, that's the cover, the back cover. I mean, it is professionally done. It's the whole deal. But all of that came from my buddy DJ taking his life. I did a post earlier today. I was out on that property, and God was just pressing me to talk, whatever the heck that means. I mean, I am so thrilled that this thing has finally come to life. But it means nothing if it doesn't change somebody's life. And that's my only hope. And this morning as I was out there, I just felt the Lord saying, man, you have to share a story. Like, you have to tell people that I am writing a story with their name on it, just like I wrote a story with your name. Because I thought about one particular time that's in this book where I was ready to end my life, and I had the gun to my head, trigger back, and you can read what happens. I mean, this isn't a setup. Like, I'm getting emotional, like, and I just felt the Lord say, I spared you from that day, and I want to spare other people, and I want to use this story to change people's lives. I want to put grace on this story. I've put grace on your life, and I want you to give me glory. And so I did. I put that post up, and sure enough, I got a message from a younger man, and God was right. It was a sovereign setup today. And that's the story of this book. My book, his book. It's his book. It's his story. My life is his story. I live for him. Anyone who knows me knows that whatever I do for the Lord. Even when I tell stupid jokes, man, I love Jesus, and I just want to bring him glory. I'm just happy to be alive. I'm just happy that this is done. And I just want people to have better lives, and I hope this does that for someone. But that's the story of 11 to 7. Be blessed, and if you want to pick a copy up, barnesandnoble.com and amazon.com. All right, guys. Love you guys. Thanks for watching.